How to find your photography niche, 10 top tips from me. Hi, and a very warm welcome to episode 187, no less, of the Photography Explained podcast. I'm your host, Rick, and in each episode, I explain one photographic thing to you in plain English in less than 27 minutes-ish without the irrelevant details. I'm a professionally qualified photographer based in England with a lifetime of photographic experience, which I share with you in my podcast. Here is the answery bit. To be the best at one photography thing, you must decide what that one photography thing is. This is how you can find your perfect photography niche. 1. Decide what you want photography to be to you. 2. Consider anything you might ever possibly want to take photos of. 3. Choose a few things you enjoy and are interested in. 4. Can these things give you what you want out of your photography? 5. Practice all those things until one thing pops up as the favourite. Yes, really. 6. Phone versus camera, decision time. Yep, it's time. Number 7. Now do that one thing to the very best of your ability with your phone or your camera. 8. Refine your image capture technique. 9. Refine your camera gear and settings. And 10. Refine your processing. Those are the 10 things, and I'm going to talk you through them one by one. But there is something I need to get out of the way. It's a pronunciation issue. How we say niche or niche. Now, I say niche, sometimes I say niche. The good old saying, the riches are in the niches, doesn't work if you use niche. And to be honest with you, I might use either pronunciation during this episode, but I guess it depends where you are in the world, doesn't it? And who you listen to. So I hope that's okay with you. But either way, we know what we're talking about, don't we? Number 1, decide what you want photography to be to you. Just for fun with my phone, full-time income, or something in between. Or fun now, but maybe something else later. Yep, we need to start at the beginning. What do you want out of your photography? What do you want photography to be to you? It's very important we start with this question, because if you don't know where you're going, how are you supposed to get there? Okay, so your photography is just for you. It's just for fun. Now, if you enjoy photography and you got no intention or desire to make money from it, then great. You know where you are and you can develop your photography skills at whatever pace you like. And it's a nice position to be in just knowing that. See, there's no pressure on you other than whatever pressure you want to put on yourself with your photography. So that's one end of the scale. And then we've got the other end. I'm all in. I want to be a full-time photographer. Like I say, the other end of the scale. You want to earn a full-time living from photography. Great. Again, you know where you want to get to. Now, the first thing you need to decide is when you need to get there, and that will define everything. And you will have to adopt a professional approach to everything from day one. And then there's the third category. I am somewhere in the middle. Now, that's going to be a lot of us, dear listener, a lot of us. But if you are, all the things that I tell you, they still apply. This is the point. Everything I say from here on applies regardless of your intentions with your photography. The main difference will be the time, effort, money, and intensity you put into these things, which I'm going to tell you. So if you're doing this for fun, you can continue at your leisure if you want. But if you want to quit your day job in 12 months and become a commercial photographer, you got to attack this hard from now and work on it and be on it until it happens. Either way, the outcomes are the same. Find a photography niche and develop within that photography niche to be the best photographer that you can be, getting the most you can out of photography for you, whatever that may be. Right, that's the scene set. Let's move on. Oh no, sorry, one last thing. If you already know what you want to do, you can skip 2 to 5. Oh no, listen to them anyway. It's all good stuff and it's only a few minutes of your day, so ignore that. Shut up, Rick. Okay, number 2, consider anything you might ever possibly want to take photos of. To know what you don't want to take photos of, you've got to consider everything, haven't you? And you got to rule things out that you don't like the sound of. Yep, it is that simple. And I'm not saying that you have to try them all. Well, I did in my original script, and then I thought, Well, that's ridiculous. No one's going to do that. So I've changed it to, no, just have a think about them. So no, you don't have to try them all, because in some cases that would be impossible, wouldn't it? You just need to think about any kinds of possible photography, because you never know. There might be something when you do this that you hadn't thought about that you quite fancy. But you do need an open mind, and a good old list of things to think about is going to help, isn't it? So check out episode 32. What are the 20 most popular types of photography? Where I talk about 20 types of photography you might want to consider. And following episode 32, there is a load more episodes where I talk about some of these in some detail. So check out episodes 32 to I don't know what. Okay then, so number 3, choose a few things that you enjoy and you are interested in. Don't go down a rabbit hole photographing something you don't like or you're not interested in. You need to enjoy what you're doing. It's much easier taking photos of something if you like it and you're interested in it. Now, I love taking photos of buildings. I love buildings, I love architecture, and I love construction. And I've worked with, in and on the construction of new buildings all my life, so this is my thing for sure. But different people like taking photos of different things, and your job is to find your one thing. Right, number 4. Can these things give you what you want from your photography? If you want to make a living from photography, you need to find something that will sustain you and provide you with a regular source of work. You need a target audience, be that paying customers, friends, family members, or fans on social media. Do you want to be a wedding photographer? I mean, I did it once and, yep, it was an experience, but I won't be doing it again. No, I much prefer photographing buildings. They don't answer back, they don't move, and there's no people involved. Not that I don't like people, I need to say that. No, photographing buildings, I know where I am. But we need to remember this. Weddings will always be a thing. There will always be people getting married. So there you go, you've got a source of work with a never-ending supply of potential clients, which you have to bear in mind if you want to do this full-time. Wedding photography is not for me, but it might be for you. And then there's things like newborn photography. I mean, people will continue to be born, so there's another never-ending supply of customers. Not for me, obviously. Nope. I take photographs of buildings, either newly constructed buildings, recently converted or refurbished buildings, or buildings being sold or leased. And again, there is an ongoing demand for this work. I think it's fair to say there will always be buildings. As long as there's always going to be buildings, there will be new buildings being built, buildings being refurbished, and buildings being sold and leased. So there will be an ongoing demand for this work, photographing buildings. And then there's the other end of the scale. So if you specialise in photographing solar eclipses, now your opportunities will be I can't say somewhat. Your opportunities will be somewhat limited. You get the point. Number 5, practice all those things, that short list of things, until one thing pops up as the favourite. Yep, this is important. Practice is very important. And there are 2 completely separate reasons why this is important. Firstly, you have to practice to get better. That's a fact. The more you practice, the better you will become. And then there's the other side of this. The more you practice and do something, the more you'll know if it's for you or not. And you're not going to know until you do it. So either way, practice, practice, practice. I'm sorry, but you've got to put the work in. In doing this, your preferred type of photography should just pop up and say, "Hi, it's me. I'm the thing that you're going to do going forwards." Whatever that might be. Bit dramatic, that, wasn't it? 6, phone versus camera. Decision time. Yep, it's time. Now, your chosen path will influence this. If you're happy just using your phone, then fine, but you are limiting yourself. I've spoken about this many times, but check out episode 182 for lots more on this very one thing, and that's phone camera versus DSLR. What are you missing with a phone? Yep, does what it says on the tin, doesn't it? But if you want to go all in and make money from your photography, you're going to need a camera. A phone will not cut it. Not only will you need one camera, you're going to need 2 cameras, and you're going to need a backup of everything if you're charging people money for your services, because if you're charging somebody money and you've only got 1 camera and it fails, that's it. You're done. Okay? And I'll say what I say in that episode again here. I'm happy to repeat myself. I'm happy to say this. You can take better photos with a camera than you can with a phone. Fact. Move on, Rick, quick. 7. Now, do that one thing to the very best of your ability. Yeah, you've got your one thing. You need to just go for it. Go all in on it. Well, as all in as you need to be, of course. But if it's just for fun, you can still take it as seriously as you want. Just because you're doing this for fun, it doesn't mean you can't take great photos. Far from it. Choosing one thing to concentrate on gives you a much higher chance of getting better photos, whatever your end point is. And if you're doing this for fun, that makes your photos no less valid than someone who's doing it to make money. Everyone's photos are equally valid, let's not forget that. So wherever this is going, work hard to be the best that you can at that one thing. Now, the beauty of digital photography is that you can keep taking photos and it doesn't directly cost you anything. You need to practice your thing until you get to the wonderful point where what you're doing is instinctive. You can do it almost without thinking. I'm in that happy point where I get everything set up and I don't really think about taking the photos because everything's so familiar and well practiced and how I do things is so well refined. I don't really need to think about it, and it's a wonderful place to be. 8. Refine your image capture technique. Yep, as you practice, your photo taking style, it's going to change, it's going to evolve. Now, you just need to be aware of this and work out how to approach every photo. I just said it, I do this consistently, and this means that my photos, they look like they were taken by me, and I'm talking from one shoot to the next, from 1 week to the next, 1 month to the next, 1 year to the next. Now, I always take my photos in the same way. It's very important for me. And rather sadly, I even do the same when I'm taking photos on holiday, which I also love to do. Not ones of my family, no, just, landscapey type, travel-y type stuff. No, I'm not that sad. I don't make everybody stand there while I get my tripod out. Just have a photograph on the beach. That would be tragic, wouldn't it? Yes, it would, Rick. 9. Refine your camera gear and settings. Different types of photography require different types of gear. If you only do one type of photography, you can have less gear, which in my opinion is always a good thing. And you can have gear that helps you and no more. Now, I photograph buildings, so I don't need lenses with large maximum apertures, or fast lenses as some like to call them. I'm not one of them. I hate the term fast lens. It is a stupid photography term. And if stupid photography terms is new to you, check out episodes 168 to 170, where I talk about a lot of stupid photography terms, not surprisingly. No, the gear I have is specific to what I do. It's very specific, and every piece of gear I have helps me to take the photos I need to take. And if it's not helping me, I've got rid of it. Yep, very liberating. And if you think about it, if you're taking every type of photography under the sun, you need every bit of gear, don't you? But if you're only doing one thing, you only need one specific set of gear, and that's where I am. And as I just said, it's a lovely place to be. It really is. Number 10, refine your processing. Image processing is about making photos look the best that they can. And that's all I do. And I do it in the most efficient way to get technically correct photos that look the best they can. And that's it. That's all I do. That's all processing is to me. And if you're processing one type of photo, you can work in a specific way that helps you with this. I edit my photos of buildings in a particular way, which is driven by the outcomes I need for every photo and every set of photos. And if I was editing many different types of photos, I'd have to work in different ways, and I know that because I've been there and it was horrible. The talky bit. Right, so whatever your aspirations, finding your photography niche, your one thing, it will help you become the best photographer you can. And don't worry, it doesn't mean you can't take other types of photos, not at all. No, taking me as an example, I've refined everything I do within an inch of its life for my photos of buildings, but all that good stuff applies equally to the fun stuff that I do, which is landscape photography and travel photography. But if you take photos of anything and everything, You're not going to become great at all of them. That's unless you're a photographic genius, that is. And if you are, let me know. Tell me how you do it, because it never happened for me. No, the really good stuff, it only happens when you focus on one thing and do that one thing only. That's one type of photography. Let me give you more examples from me, because yes, I've been there. Some years ago, when I started taking my photography more seriously, as in going from a hobby to I want to make a full-time living from this, here's a range of the things I was photographing. Car damage for insurance companies, 15 quid a shoot. Houses for sale with floor plans being done too, 50 quid a job, and I had to draw floor plans. Not a great start, is it? Corporate events, celebrity chefs, would you believe? Weddings, all right, wedding, one was enough. Headshots, shop openings, show jumping, personal injuries. I photographed a man with a cut hand once, 50 quid, nice job that. Not for the man with the cut hand though, sorry about that. Newly constructed buildings, buildings being leased, buildings being sold, petrol stations, paint, tables. Now, some work together and make sense, but others clearly don't. And once you become the best you can be at one type of photography and you've sorted out all that image capture, gear and processing, all that good stuff, well, you can branch out into other logical things. So in my list above, there are things that are logical sideways moves from photographing buildings, but there are many that are not. See, photographing an interior of a building, it's not that much of a shift, is it, to photographing a table? It's not, and it works, and it's the same gear, it's the same techniques, it's just a slightly different approach. And if you're a wedding photographer, portrait photography is a related genre, as is newborn photography. Because if you're photographing people, you're going to need additional lighting. Photographing people, in theory, of any age, it's exactly the same, isn't it? And if you start as a portrait photographer, you can go the other way to weddings or newborns. So there's sideways moves you can make, but you've got to become the best you can at that one thing first. So that's the important point. Yeah, I take photos of buildings, but the same skills and techniques can be used for landscape photography. So while I'm saying you need to be good at one thing, it's not a lifetime exclusivity thing, so don't worry. I nearly said exclusivity then, didn't I, the first time? This is my point. Become the best you can at your photography niche. I did this and I became a professional photographer, a professionally qualified photographer and associate of the British Institute of Professional Photography. Now, what does that mean? This is what the BIPP say about being an associate. Being an associate demonstrates a client can rest assured that your work is above the standard level required for professional practice and you have a solid handle on your photographic craft. It also says, show a high standard of craftsmanship across the use of light, composition, print, framing and cropping. The assessors are looking for skills, abilities and a panel reflecting a signature style, look or brand the photographer has started developing. You should also demonstrate a consistent post-production style and the ability to prepare files for print, including output knowledge and the correct choice of printing media. The portfolio should hang together as a cohesive piece of work. Why have I told you that? Well, I'm going to tell you. Of course I'm going to tell you. I'm not sure why I asked you the question, because that's what I'm about to do, isn't it? See, I would never have achieved this qualification if I hadn't found my photography niche and worked hard to be the best I could be at that one thing. I would never have created a cohesive body of work if I'd not niched down. I know that because I submitted a portfolio which was all over the place. It had sports photos in there, some really good photos, but completely unrelated, and they didn't hang together, and they weren't as good as they could be. And that's why you need to find your photography niche if you want to be the best photographer that you can be. If you're not bothered, I probably should have said this at the beginning, shouldn't I? If you're not bothered, don't worry about it. But if you want to be the best that you can, and if you're going to do something, why wouldn't you want to be the best, eh? Then find you one thing. There's a lot of photographers out there doing what I did. That's did, not do. Being a jack of all trades, but a master of none. Or is it one? I always thought it was master of one, but it doesn't matter, does it? You get the point. I don't know, but you get the point. Jack of all trades, master of none. That's good enough, isn't it? I'm not. I need to move on, don't I? So the best way to be the best photographer that you can, or to forge a successful career in photography, if that's what you want to do, is to find your specific niche and become the best you can at it. And a niche photography business is easier to market as well, of course it is. I think I've said that enough times now, haven't I? So I'm going to move on. What if I use my phone to take photos and not a camera? I've just got one thing to say. You could take better photos with a camera than with a phone. Fact. Right, move on quick. What do? I've told you I found my photography niche, worked hard for years, and became a professionally qualified photographer. My potential clients are architects, agents, and building owners. That's how specific I can be in what I do in such a specific area. That's my client base, and I look no further than that. Now, my photography world is photographing buildings. I mean, that's the serious part of it. And the fun part's travel photography and landscape photography, and that's for me and nobody else. So what I'm telling you is exactly what I've done. I photograph things that don't move, so I've got no plans to become a sports photographer. I'd need different gear and a different way of working for that. And I've got no plans to become a wedding photographer, portrait photographer, newborn photographer, or senior photographer, as it's called in the US, which I think is photographing older people, isn't it? No people, just buildings. And when I started to focus on buildings only, my photography style started to appear. Remember what the BIPP said? Style developing. If I'd carried on as I was, I wouldn't have had any kind of style at all. So, yeah, I'm going to move on because the next bit of my script is me saying what I've already said. So that's what I do, or did. Oh, yeah, sorry, there's one other thought I had when I was writing the what do I do bit, and it relates to the if you want to be a full-time photographer, if you want photography to give you a full-time living. Now, I'd love to be a landscape photographer, but I'm not sure how to make a living out of that. How can I make a full-time living from landscape photos? I looked into it some years ago, and I didn't fancy my chances, to be brutally honest with you, so I still do landscape photography, and it's for fun, and I love it. And yeah, some of it's for commercial use, but my photographing buildings is my thing, and landscape photography is my enjoyable thing on the side. But I stopped myself from trying to become a landscape photographer and earning a full-time living from being a landscape photographer because I couldn't see a way of doing it. Now, I know there are people who do it, of course there are, but I couldn't see a way to do it, not in the timescales to give me the money that I needed. So there you go, just demonstrating again. I'm telling you what I've done, okay? Right, time to move on, Rick. My survey on phones and cameras. Now, I said earlier on, make the decision about phones and cameras. So there's a survey I've set up, which I'd appreciate if you completed it. It'll take 2 minutes, no more. Just head over to photographyexplainedpodcast.com/survey 2024, and you'll find a link to the survey there. Now, I'm going to pick up the survey results in the future episode, but I would like to thank you in anticipation for your assistance with this. Some thoughts from the last episode. Well, that was get out and practice more, but take fewer photos. The only thing I want to pick up on again, because I think I've said this enough and I need to move on, is the point about thinking about what we're all taking photos of. Are we taking photos that other people find interesting? And if we're not, why are we doing it? And if you can't be bothered to edit a photo you're taking, don't take it. That simple. Right, what's next? Well, I'm getting to the end of my series on taking better photos, which I started, would you believe, in episode 172 back in January of this year. Blimey, how did that happen? And there were more than 11 episodes. Episode 172 listed out the 11 things I was going to talk about, and obviously there's been more than 11 episodes. So there's going to be one more. I'm going to do one more episode, which is going to be a wrap-up and a summary of everything that I said in all those episodes. So looking forward to doing that and giving a really complete but concise guide to how to take better photos. And no, please don't ask me why didn't I do that in the first place, because I never thought of it. Okay, ask me a question for the Photography Explained podcast. If you got a question you'd like me to answer, email me at sales@rickmcavoyphotography.co.uk or head over to the podcast website, photographyexplainedpodcast.com/start. And while you're at the website, check out the questions page where there is a big old list of things you can choose from. And if you just want to say hi, say hi. Be lovely to hear from you. get a weekly email from me. Yes, if you would like to receive a weekly email from me, and why wouldn't you? Where I tell you what I'm thinking about, fill out the form on the podcast website, and every Friday you'll get a lovely email from me. How utterly splendid. About 3 o'clock time where I'm sat. Okie dokie, I'm done. This episode was brought to you by a coffee. Yeah, I had my breakfast a couple of hours ago. This is a mid-morning recording. No, just a coffee, which I've been sipping in my homemade acoustically cushioned recording emporium whilst doing the recording, and very nice it was too. Right, I've been Rick McAvoy. Thanks again very much for listening to my small but perfectly formed podcast, it says here, and for giving me 27-ish minutes of your valuable time. I'm reckoning this episode might be about 27 minutes long after I've edited out the mistakes and other bad stuff. So thanks for listening. See you in the next episode. Take care, stay safe. Cheers from me, Rick. Right, that's that one done. 32 minutes of recording. Yeah, good. All good. Well, when I say good, I'm happy with how it's gone. I always worry that my software's not going to record it, and I'm going to be, when I stop the recording, it's just going to be a blank nothingness. But hey, it's looking good to me. And I've got me 2 lights now and my HD camera, so this is as good as it gets. Okay, so I've got some... got a tickly cough. I've got some more stuff to record. This is my YouTube stuff for my promotion. So, 185.08 is the last video from the last episode, which is talking about this episode. And this is where I get confused, because when I get ahead of myself, I've got to work out where I am, and I was just about to do the wrong one then. So I've just done episode 187, so I need to go back one to episode 180. Oh, I got my numbering wrong, that's why. So I'm recording 187, but I've got the videos to do for 186, and then 187 after that. So this is going to confuse me. So I'm going to do these recordings, I'm going to take them out and chuck them in the other file. Right, I'm just going to go with the numbering, bear with. 185.08. Yeah, it's okay, it's okay. Tomorrow on the splendid Photography Explained podcast. Get out taking photos more, but take fewer photos. Yes, hi, Rick here, creator and indeed all things at the splendid Photography Explained podcast. Tomorrow, a brand new episode, 3 p.m, time where I'm sat. Get out taking photos more, but take fewer photos. Check it out on this channel. Tomorrow, 3 p.m. That's all for now. Take care, stay safe. Cheers from me, Rick. My brand new course, How to Become a Real Estate Photographer, straight talking advice for beginners to get you making money quickly and build a career, is available to buy now. Find out more at rickmcavoyphotography.com/courses.